Good morning. How's everybody doing today? I don't know if you caught any of my shorts last night, but last night I was actually over the last couple days, I've been peeling paddle cactus fruit. Last night I juiced it. I used both the Breville juicer, but I also used a potato racer. And I found that potato racer to be as effective as a juicer, and it's a lot more affordable than a juicer. And then I pressed the pulp through a conical sieve using a pestle. And it really wasn't that hard. And I got really excited about this because it reminds me of working with rose hips in Alaska. So this project has made me feel very connected to my roots. And I'd like to share what I'm going to do with you today. I did a little research online. I didn't find any safe canning recipes for making barbecue sauce with paddle cactus fruit. Fortunately, I have a lot of experience with those situations, and the number one tool you need as a canner to safely can anything that you can't find a recipe for is an acidity tester. And I happen to like this acidity tester by Pear Instruments. It's a scientific tester, and I use it for all kinds of projects. It doesn't matter if I'm making shampoo or if I'm making a food item. This acidity tester is really good. So I highly recommend this. And since I use it for multiple things, I take my sample and I put it in a separate container. I don't want to contaminate my batch with an instrument that's gone into different substances. And at some point today, we will be doing that. So to start off, I'm actually going to be using a recipe that I used with rose hips for my book, Cooking with Mrs. Painter, An Alaskan Experience. And we're fundamentally going to follow this recipe. And when I'm done, I'm going to put the end recipe in the description of the video, but we're going to get through this first. I did find some canning recipes. I didn't find any canning recipes. I found recipes to make barbecue sauce, say a jar of barbecue sauce with paddle cactus fruit that you could keep in your refrigerator for up to a week. And so I do have a couple of extra ingredients on hand to try in case we need to adjust the flavor of our sauce. But for now, we're going to use my recipe from Cooking with Mrs. Painter, An Alaskan Experience, using rose hips. So let's come over here to our work surface. And to start, we have 6 cups of rosehip puree in this container. To that, I am going to add 1 cup of chopped red onion. The finer you chop it, the better. And I'm going to put this on medium heat. We want to get this hot, but we don't want to burn it either. Over here, I have a pressure canner with 3 quarts of water added to it. Next, we're going to add 1.5 cups of apple cider vinegar. Oops, I'm still waking up here. I was so excited. I didn't sleep all that great last night. It's pretty amazing when you find something in a totally different terrain. We're going to add 2 cups of brown sugar that works like something that you use that was amazing from a totally different part of the continent, right? And this puree from the paddle cactus fruit actually ended up being about the same consistency of the rose hips. And actually, I'm going to turn this up a little higher than medium heat. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to start adding some of our seasoning. We are going to add a 1/2 tablespoon of cloves. At some point, Mr. Painter is going to come home and we're going to hear some noise because Meg is going to bark. Let's get our measuring devices out here. Here we go, 1/2 tablespoon. I'm pretty excited because I got 9 cups of this puree, which means I have exactly enough puree to make both the barbecue recipe from my book and the wild wing recipe from my book, which is so super cool. I'm pretty jacked up about this. The next thing we're going to add is a half tablespoon of cinnamon. One thing that's been very different for me moving to the desert of southern Nevada from my home state of Alaska is in Alaska we had wild berries everywhere, and you don't find that here. And finding these paddle cactus fruit and being able to work with them like I worked with the rose hips, so much like, I mean, yeah, like I worked with the rose hips is so cool because I'd made so many things with those rose hips. Next, we're going to add a half tablespoon of allspice. Okay, so one of the things that we're going to do differently, I use celery salt in my rose hip barbecue sauce recipe, but I noticed that people were using smoked paprika in the refrigerated barbecue sauce that was for 1 week, would last 1 week. So we're going to do a tablespoon of celery salt. We're going to do a tablespoon of ground celery leaf, and we're going to do a tablespoon of smoked Redmond salt. So as we go, things that I do different, I'm going to go ahead and write this down on here so we have it. Next year, we'll do an actual video that's an edited video. Okay, so we have 1 tablespoon celery leaf, and 1 tablespoon of smoked salt. And this is celery leaf from our garden. I love being able to dehydrate my own seasonings. Wherever you live, there's probably something that you can grow. So I highly encourage everybody to get out there and figure out what they can do for themselves in the climate that they live in. It's going to have a beautiful, rich color too. Right, we have our celery leaf added. Let's go ahead and add our smoked salt. One tablespoon of smoked salt, and this is Redmond Ancient Sea Salt, real salt. This is a high quality product. I highly recommend this company for any salts that you might want to use in your cooking. So this is one variance from our recipe for our rosehip barbecue sauce. The next thing we're going to add is a half teaspoon of ground black pepper. Flip through our little measuring spoons here. This is such a cool set of measuring spoons. Okay, half a teaspoon of ground black pepper. My husband was telling me I'm going to have to make a whole new cookbook now that I've found something really cool that I can work with that grows here. It's moving my seasonings out of the way as we go here. All right, then we're going to add a half teaspoon of ground cayenne pepper. Now, if you don't like things that have a little bit of a kick to them, you can mess with that measurement. I've found a half teaspoon to be the perfect amount. So one thing that you want to do with a barbecue sauce is you want to make sure it has time to cook down enough to have the consistency that you like. And I have an assortment of jars here out on my counter. I like having different size jars to match whatever project size I'm going to do. And sometimes small jars make a great gift. And I always try to have at least one jar that's extra that I can use for, just a little bit to put in my refrigerator to try. Like, I think we should try this sauce really soon in a video for cooking, right? So before we add anything else to this, I'm going to go ahead and give this a taste. I want to see how we're doing on our flavor, see if we need to add anything to it. Let's get a little clean spoon here. Okay, this smells really delicious. We're off to a good start. Let's see if I can angle my. You see me try this? Wow, this is really good. Trying to decide if I want to add anything more to it. So good. I wish my husband was here to taste this right now. So 2 other ingredients that I saw the refrigerated recipes use were Worcestershire sauce and paprika and lemon. I think they were using the lemon to preserve the color. Now we will only add lemon to ours if we need to adjust our acidity, right? For now, I'm really satisfied with this flavor with just the addition of the smoked salt. So I'm not going to add any Worcestershire or paprika, but these are things that you could add. I feel like our acidity is going to be pretty good, but we're definitely going to test that as this cooks down. And I'm going to turn this up just a little bit. So it's a little higher than medium heat on a large burner. And I'm going to stir this frequently because I don't want to burn it, right? It's one thing for sure. If you're trying to get something going and you want to cook it a little faster, just make sure you stir it frequently. And while this stirs, or while this cooks down, I'm going to go ahead and make a few notes on our recipe because we don't want to forget this because this is going to be some awesome barbecue sauce. All right, so we have our celery leaf and smoked salt, right? That was different from our cookbook. We have our black pepper and cayenne pepper, half teaspoon. And what's cool about this recipe is it only has to process in a pressure cooker for 20 minutes. Some of the recipes that I do have to process substantially longer, but we only have to process for 20 minutes. And this tastes really amazing. My husband is going to be so excited about this. I will definitely add this recipe into the description of the video so y'all can make it if you'd like. Okay, so what we have so far that we've put in here, we have 6 cups of Paddle Cactus puree. We have 2 cups of brown sugar. We have 1 cup of chopped red onion. We have 1.5 cups of apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon of celery leaf, 1 tablespoon of smoked salt, a half teaspoon of cayenne pepper, a half teaspoon of black pepper, a half tablespoon of allspice, a half tablespoon of powdered cloves, a half tablespoon of cinnamon. And this tastes so amazing. And what I've done to prepare for this is these jars are washed, not sterilized. When you're pressure canning, you can't possibly get your jars any cleaner or any more sterile in a water bath than you can a pressure canner. This pressure canner gets really, really hot. We do need this to get a little thicker though, right? It's a little too watery at this point. And I'm probably not going to need all these jars. that's okay because when I'm done with this, I'm probably going to go ahead and make that wing sauce because I feel like I found the coolest thing by harvesting these paddle cactus fruit. My husband was already volunteering to go pick a bunch for me. I guess that tells you how much he likes my cooking, right? So this will take a while to cook down. So I'm probably not going to go on with the video, but I will do some shorts later just to let you see how it turns out. And I am going to do, actually, let's go ahead and test the acidity. Let's do that so you can see how I do that. Let's test the acidity. This is definitely going to be a success. So we will definitely do an actual cooking video as opposed to a live next year. So this is my acidity tester. I've had it soaking in a 4.0 solution. I'm going to give it a rinse, dry it, and I'm going to put a little bit of our sauce in a separate bowl. I don't want to contaminate my sauce with this tester since I use it on so many things. I'll turn this back down to medium heat. We don't need to like overly do it. Just need a little bit. And let's let this cool for just a minute. You know, maybe I will keep the video going. If you want to stay tuned into it, you can. If you want to pop in and out, you can. And let me let you see the color of this sauce too. So you can see it looks like any barbecue sauce, right? It's got a beautiful color. So something to know about testing your sauce is you want to test it before you can it too, just to make sure you're in range. But if you've never made a sauce like this before and you're experimenting like I am, you want to test your product that's been canned as well because pressure cooking can affect the acidity. I've never had a problem with that, but that's just considered the standard directions with canning. Let's go ahead and see if we can measure pH. Hopefully it doesn't mind the heat. All right, we are doing fabulous. Can you see this? We have a 3.8, 3.9 acidity. We need it to be under, okay, we need it to be no higher in pH than a 4.6. And a 3.9 is quite safe. A lot of my sauces that I make are 4.2. I hope you can see this measurement. So we definitely have a success here. This is going to be an awesome sauce. I wish the business licensing and the requirements weren't so difficult here for a product like barbecue sauce, because I would totally sell this at a farmer's market if I could. What I've found is from state to state, the regulations really vary. So for where I'm from in Alaska, a sauce like this would be considered a cottage food. In Alaska, you cannot sell a baked good at a farmer's market unless you have a commercial kitchen, but you can sell products made with vinegar without a commercial kitchen. It's just called cottage food. In Nevada, you can sell a baked good at a farmer's market without a commercial kitchen, but you can't sell anything with vinegar in it without a commercial kitchen. They consider it a craft food as opposed to a cottage food. And that's just a matter of their laws, their licensing requirements. Also, the labeling's different. In Alaska, you had to have an FDA nutrition label, which I actually learned how to make. I had a subscription to a company called Recipal. If you're interested in doing that yourself, it's wonderful. So you can make your own FDA-approved license labels if you would like. In Nevada, they don't care about the FDA label. They just want you to have your ingredients in a certain size font in a certain way on your label. That's pretty much what they care about. So, pretty interesting how that varies from state to state. But I'm pretty psyched about this barbecue sauce. This is definitely going to be a success. We might have to barbecue something soon just so y'all can see how good this turns out. This is going to have to cook down for a little bit though, so we are going to go ahead and pop out. But I will be pressure canning this at 15 pounds of pressure. I live at 2,000 feet above sea level. If you are at 1,000 feet above sea level or lower, you can do it with 10 pounds of pressure. I will be using 15 pounds of pressure, and I'm going to process this for 20 minutes in my pressure canner. And next year we will come back and we will do an actual edited video showing you the whole process. But for now, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. Thank you. Thanks for watching.